Good evening. This is eNews at 8, live from Johannesburg. I'm Sally Burdett. Your top stories tonight. Silas Ramaite appointed as the acting NPA head. A career prosecutor, could he be the man for the permanent job? President Ramaphosa announces a plan to rid schools of pit latrines, but at the same time, government is criticised for challenging a ruling aimed at opening up the full picture on school infrastructure. And Mark Minnie, the co-author of a book alleging an apartheid-era paedophile ring involving top National Party ministers, is found dead in Port Elizabeth. Of course, we also have sport and business news in this half hour. And it's a very good evening to Mateo Kharipa and Jeffrey Stevens.
Good evening, Sally. Coming up, the Kaizer Chiefs are looking for their first win in the Premier League up against Baraka this evening. We'll bring you the latest from there.
And I'm not bringing any good news from the money front. South Africa could face more job losses as Minor Goldfields announces it would let go of more than 1,500 workers. Back to you, Sally.
Thanks, Mateo. And we start here with the development over who will lead the National Prosecuting Authority. President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Silas Ramaite as the acting National Director of Public Prosecutions. Now, for the past 15 years, Ramaite has been the Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, responsible for administration and the Office for Witness Protection. Before that, he held various positions, including Public Prosecutor, Magistrate, Senior State Advocate and Deputy Attorney General. In 1997, he was the chief evidence leader at the Goldstone Commission, looking into allegations arising from the TRC in relation to the Heidelberg Tavern massacre. Ramaite has been an active member of Lawyers for Human Rights. He's also a licensed financial analyst. Now, the president has 3 months to make a permanent appointment for the head of the NPA. On the line now for some reaction to that story, we have communications specialist and former NPA spokesperson Makosini Nkosi. Good evening, Mr. Nkosi. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about Silas Ramaite. I saw you endorsed him on social media, praising him as a career prosecutor. But let's not forget, so was Sean Abrams. Do you really think Ramaite is going to be a good caretaker?
Look, I don't think there's anybody more qualified than him in the country. He's a career prosecutor, as you have pointed out. He is an academic. He has a PhD in law. He is also someone who's a respected jurist, and he has been a manager in the NPA, has been deputy to Bulelani Ngoga, has been deputy to Vusi Pikoli, Mendes Melane, Sean Abraham. And the fact that he was appointed by the president to be Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, it talks to him being fit and proper for the position.
Look, are there any scandals around him? You know, they do have a way of popping up once someone gets a high-profile position.
Look, what I've seen and what I've heard in the past is a case of drunken driving, but my own assessment of how the police handled that matter, and I'm speaking as someone here who has spoken for the National Prosecuting Authority and the Scorpion, I would not have spoken the way that the police spokesperson spoke, in the sense that it was as if he was finding him guilty before any court of law could try him. And also there was a talk that police did not take breathalyzer tests and all those things. So on one hand, you're casting aspersions on the character of somebody, but you don't have any evidence to prove that. And
Fair
I don't
enough.
think that Dr. Ramaite must be held accountable for that.
Now, of course, Vusi Pikoli was your boss when you worked at the NPA. He's come out saying he's not interested in the job again. Do you think that's because of what he went through during his tenure? I mean, he was the man who announced charges against Jackie Salibi and Jacob Zuma and came under serious fire.
Sally, I think I can speak for Vusi Pikoli and speak for myself. After I left the NPA, I went to work for a bank. And I left. After that, I sat at home for 2 years. Nobody would employ me. And I know Vusi Pikoli went through the same thing as well. And after I had left, government a few years ago, I was invited back into the NPA, and I declined. It was precisely because of that you are doing your work to the best of your ability as an official of government. And after that, you somehow you have to pay the price for that. And I don't think there's appetite for that.
Fair enough, I understand. Thank you very much. That was communication specialist, former NPA spokesperson Makosini Nkosi. Well, the NPA head who was given a golden handshake to vacate his post, Mxolisi Nxasana, says he doesn't have the money he's been ordered to pay back. The Constitutional Court on Monday ruled that Nxasana was unconstitutionally removed from his position. The court also ordered him to pay back over 10 million rand he received as a payout to vacate his office. In a frank interview with Siphamandla Goge, Nxasana says he feels betrayed by former President Jacob Zuma, Zuma's former lawyer Michael Hulley, Justice Minister Michael Masuta and former Justice Minister Jeff Radebe.
Do you still have that money though? Is it still in your bank account or you have spent some of it?
I don't have it.
You have spent all of it?
I had to leave. I had to earn a living, my brother. I had liabilities. And remember when the money came, I didn't steal it. It was paid into my account. I wasn't working.
What are your feelings towards former President Jacob Zuma?
I am where I am today, being the victim of all the circumstances, because of him, because he allowed himself to be threatened or intimidated by people who had their own agendas to make him institute the Commission of Inquiry, and not only the Commission of Inquiry, to get rid of me.
Mxolisi Nxasana, former NPA head there. Justice Minister Michael Masuta is vowing to clean up the State Attorney's office. Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa ordered a probe into that office. Private and state lawyers allegedly have been colluding to lose cases and then they split the damages. Around 80 billion rand of public money has reportedly been stolen in this way. Now, the unit tasked to investigate the allegations is still putting a team together. It says it will need at least 12 months to conduct the investigation.
The investigation will help the Department of Justice to lay to rest concerns that have been raised by members of the public, the legal fraternity, and other government departments regarding the functioning and conduct of some officials within the office of the State Attorney. Where appropriate, and in addition to the investigation by the SIU, disciplinary action as well as criminal investigation will be initiated against alleged perpetrators to ensure that firm action is taken to uproot corrupt activities.
12 years to get rid of deadly pit latrines in schools. Today, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched a program to provide safe toilets in all public schools by 2030. And while any effort to upgrade schools for the many thousands of children still learning under trees or in mud structures is to be welcomed, government has at the same time been slammed for being disingenuous. Now, they're also challenging a court order that requires them to move faster on meeting school infrastructure standards. Slindile Masikani has more.
5-year-old Michael Komape drowned in a pit toilet at Mahlodumela Primary School in Limpopo 4 years ago. In March this year, another 5-year-old Lumka Mkhetwa died after falling into a school toilet in the Eastern Cape. An audit has now revealed that almost 4,000 schools are still using pit toilets, with the highest number in the Eastern Cape, followed by KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo.
Let's welcome the President.
Speaking at the launch of Government Sanitation Appropriate for Education or SAFE initiative, President Cyril Ramaphosa says government is aware it hasn't done enough.
The utterly tragic and devastating deaths of children so young and so innocent remind us of the human consequences of service delivery that is deferred, service delivery that is derailed, service delivery that is delayed, and also service delivery that is denied to our people.
Lobby group Equal Education, which has been at the forefront of the fight for safe school sanitation, held a silent protest during the launch.
Minister Muteka, why are you appealing the norms and standards judgment.
The group is lambasting the President and Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga for government's decision to appeal a High Court judgment that made improving school infrastructure an urgent government priority.
The minister must stop. She mustn't appeal the court judgment, a positive judgment, a groundbreaking judgment. But the sense that we get is that she doesn't want to bear the responsibility of providing infrastructure.
Government has set a goal of eradicating pit toilets at schools by 2030, which means South Africa's poorest pupils would have to wait up to 12 years for access to safe school toilets. But a document seen by eNCA estimates it may take up to 30 years to reduce the backlog. Slinda Lomasigan, Pretoria.
To Port Elizabeth now, and the shocking news this morning that Mark Minnie, who co-authored the book The Lost Boys of Bird Island, had been found dead. Police have opened an inquest docket after his body was found outside his home on the outskirts of the city. While it appears Minnie may have shot himself, those close to him say he feared for his life because of the sensational claims in the book he co-authored. The Lost Boys of Bird Island, released earlier this month, alleges that 3 former National Party ministers were central figures in a paedophilia ring that operated during the apartheid years. Well, this is what the police said this morning about Minnie's death.
The body of the 58-year-old man was found at a small hole in THIS last night. He has been identified as Mark Minnie. He was found with a gunshot wound to his head. A firearm was found lying next to him. At this stage, we are investigating an inquest.
Stay with us on eNews. We have international news. A highway bridge collapse kills at least 35 people in northern Italy today. And we also have business news with Matteo.
Well, Turkish President Recep Erdogan saying his country will boycott US products, and that includes Apple products. That saw the rand go up against major currencies.
And time now to talk money with Matteo Ramaite. Good evening once again. Matteo, more looming job losses, not a pretty picture.
That particular sector still bleeding jobs. Goldfields is the latest miner to announce job cuts in an effort to restore its operations. Mining Minister Gwede Mantashe is not happy with that decision, saying the miner is not following processes outlined in the law. The gold producer says it will cut 1,560 jobs at its South Deep mine, which has been reporting losses. 70% of these will be permanent workers, while the rest are contractors. This move comes just a week after Impala Platinum announced plans to cut 13,000 jobs.
We clearly understand that the minister is concerned about this. This has been, the job loss in the industry have been very, very heavy. But we did follow the process. Our clear view is that we have to enter the Section 189 process first before we can approach the minister in terms of Section 52 of the MPRDA. So when our chair, our CEO, and our senior management team met the minister yesterday, we made that very clear. We understand where he comes from, but we have to follow the Section 189 process, and we will. And after that, we will obviously engage with him on the Section 52. It becomes necessary.
Of course, already some serious concerns from COSATU about that. Some better news, however, for the rand. I'm so glad you do have some good news for us this evening.
Definitely, a Turkish president are fighting back in terms of his country's position there. He's saying his country won't buy US products, and that spurred on the Turkish lira, and in turn spurred on the rand. It's at 14.30 now against the greenback. Also firm against the euro at 16 rand 22 cents, and firming up against the pound quite nicely at 18 rand 18 cents in that position as well. So doing well in terms of that after yesterday's losses. Banks were also in a better position today as the rand came up again. They were up more than 1%, but the O share couldn't go up because that big stock Naspers down 2% as well, with industrials also down by more than 0.5%. Gold miners are being battered today because of those looming job losses in that sector. They were down more than 6% today, with platinum not impressing the market at all, and resources closing off that bloodbath on the market. So in the red for the rest of the market, but the rand doing much better.
Well, some good news at least. Thank you so much, Matteo Ramaite. Let's now look at news from further afield. In Italy, the death toll has climbed to at least 35 after a highway bridge collapsed at lunchtime in the northern city of Genoa today. Now, the bridge, carrying at least 30 cars, caved in during torrential rainfall. Italian authorities say work to shore up the foundation of the bridge was being carried out at the time of the collapse. And in London, an unidentified man has been arrested on suspicion of terrorism after a car crash outside Parliament in the United Kingdom. Authorities believe the man in his late 20s deliberately drove into pedestrians before ramming into a barrier on a lane used to access Parliament. One person was severely injured and several others treated on the scene for minor injuries. Well, let's recap your top stories this evening. Silas Ramaite appointed as the acting NPA head, a career prosecutor. Could he be the man for the permanent job? President Cyril Ramaphosa announces a plan to rid schools of pit latrines, but government is criticised for challenging a ruling aimed at opening up the full picture on school infrastructure.